Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Organizing to Victory podcast, where we're talking garage politics. My name is Lee Perry, and tonight we have a very special guest named JJ Holmes. You may know he and his mother as the Central Floridians of the Year, Miss Allison Holmes. They're actually in my house, and I'm so excited to talk to them because they go up to Tallahassee every single year fighting to expand Medicaid and to reduce the wait list for financial assistance to other people who are experiencing different abilities in the state of Florida. And JJ has taken it upon himself to feel a sense of responsibility to advocate for people with various abilities because he stands up to bullies like Donald Trump, who was caught mocking reporters with disabilities at his rallies. And his stories are absolutely incredible. I'm excited to share them with you. But just so you know, we did edit this interview down because JJ uses a text-to-speech tablet, but his responses are unforgettable. Here's my interview with JJ. All right, everybody. So the person that I have here with me needs no introduction. My dear friend, JJ Holmes, who is right now he and his mom are both Central Floridians of the Year. In my house right now, a celebrity. And you probably see JJ in not only all the political spaces, but also going up into the trenches in Tallahassee, fighting for disability rights and getting all up in the faces of the legislators that you can barely get at a town hall. And JJ shows up. I wish so many more people would take the same time and energy to fight for something as JJ does. So we're going to learn a little bit about JJ and JJ's past. And how much of a comedian he is, because he's had me laughing all morning. So JJ, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and how you became politically aware. Where were you born?
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. My name is JJ Holmes. I live in Longwood, Florida, and my journey into advocacy started in 2016, when I was just 12 years old. Most kids at that age were focused on going to the beach, or deciding whether to eat the not very cooked pizza at their school cafeteria, or whether to pack their own lunch. But instead, I was convincing my mother to take me to a Trump rally, not because I was confused, but because I was angry as hell. Trump has mocked a reporter with a disability on national television, and I thought, nope, not today, orange man. So, after a year of begging my mom to take me, she finally agreed. It was the weekend before the 2016 election, and we went to the Trump rally on that Saturday. When Trump finally started speaking, I hit my communication device to play a chant. Trump noticed and yelled, "Get him out." People started to chant U.S. and kick my wheelchair. I guess they weren't very happy to see me. After we got removed, we were contacted the next day to go to a President Obama rally because someone from the Hillary Clinton campaign heard about it. And after the rally, I was pulled to meet with President Obama. The story spread widely, and outlets like CNN, The Washington Post picked up the story, proving that even though I'm sitting down, I stood up to the biggest bully, Donald Trump. Unfortunately, though, 2 days later, Trump was elected president, and that's when I decided I wanted to become a disability rights activist.
What an incredible story. You're just going to make me cry this whole time, I guess. We just started and I'm already tearing up. But I'm so proud of you because I don't think I have the courage to do that. What was it about, obviously he's a bully and obviously he's mean, but why you? Why do you feel like it was your responsibility to be the one to stand up to the bully? So many people say, "Oh, I'm unhappy with politics, but it's not my job to go to a protest or my job to go to a rally." Why did you feel like it was your responsibility to go?
Because my teacher taught me, if you're being bullied, you gotta stand up, whether the bully is a fellow student or a candidate for the presidency of the United States, and I felt like I would be disappointing people if I didn't. The thing about bullies is, they thrive on their victims being silent, and that's not how I was raised.
Wow. The world would be a better place if more people thought that way. But I want to know now, since then, you continue to get up every day and make a decision, and it feels like your entire life has gone into politics. What is it that you feel like you're fighting for right now?
So, I'm going to be long-winded in answering your question. During the 2021-2022 school year, Governor Ron DeSantis banned school districts from implementing mask mandates in schools. I know their argument was, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. But because I couldn't wear a mask due to the fact I type using my nose, I was essentially kept out of school if I wanted to live, which I intended on doing. So, I started to speak at my local school board meetings, begging them to implement a mask mandate. The school base was mostly right-wing, except for one Democrat, so my pleas fell on deaf ears. But it quickly turned into fighting for June to be recognized as Pride Month, which the one Democrat was fighting for the school district to do, and I wanted to show support, particularly because that's where my favorite group of people, Moms for Liberty, which I call them Moms for Bigotry, and will refer to them as Moms for Bigotry during the rest of this podcast. Anyway, especially since Moms for Bigotry were showing up, I wanted to show up to show that not everyone speaking here is a nasty bigot. Anyway, when I was finally able to return to school my senior year, I found out that thousands of families were waiting for disability services, and I've been waiting on that waitlist for, at the time, 16 years-ish. So I started to speak up in Tallahassee and in local legislative delegation meeting around the state. It got to the point where legislators would get a stress headache every time they saw me in a committee hearing. But what really moved the needle was where I met with the Senate President, Kathleen Pastomo, and she could see, oh, this is an actual human being, not just someone who's just existing. It's funny because I messaged a Democratic senator asking if I could get a meeting with her, and he said, absolutely. That next session, I was actually invited onto the Senate floor and they passed a bill, not to clear the wait list, which was what I wanted, but to lower the caregiver age threshold from 70 to 60, because it just so happens that my mother would turn 60 that year. Funny how that works, right? But the moral of the story is progress takes time, and we gotta keep fighting for the equality we actually want, while also celebrating the small wins. And because of my advocacy, more than 300 other families that year got off the wait list that otherwise wouldn't.
That's so excellent. Thank you so much for that, because you're literally able to see how your advocacy is helping to change lives. And it's not for nothing. Sometimes I think lobbyists I talk to, especially even Republican lobbyists that I talk to, go up to Tallahassee and they say it's not the same Tallahassee that it was even just 5 years ago, even just 10 years ago, that it's become so gridlocked that they can't really be productive as a governing body anymore. And that means people who have been on this wait list can't get the relief and the resources that they need in order to survive, in order to get the equipment.
It's a fresh mess up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fresh mess up there. But you keep going, and I'm so proud of you for doing that. You know, if you could wave a magic wand and make some policies pass in the Florida legislature next session, what policies do you think, outside of actually getting to the wait list, what are some policies you think could really help change people's lives immediately, especially for those with different abilities?
So, if I could wave a magic wand, the first thing I would do, other than giving myself unlimited milkshakes, and other than clearing the iBudget waiver waitlist for people with disabilities, is I get the Florida legislature to expand Medicaid, in Jesus' name, because no Floridian should have to go without health care. I fundamentally believe health care is a human right, but if you live in the free state of Florida, and you're in the lower class in terms of income, healthcare is essentially non-existent, because there's a coverage gap, and it makes you make more than enough to qualify for Medicaid, but not enough to qualify for Obamacare. You're essentially going to have to pray you don't get sick, and that's just wrong.
For those who are living with disabilities in this moment, if you could talk to them and inspire them to get active, because I'm assuming that what you're doing is kind of scary. I mean, you had people kick your wheelchair at a rally. It must be really intimidating and scary to go above and beyond to educate the needs that you have to legislators who should know what they need to do. What message do you have for someone in a similar situation who might be too scared to go up to Tallahassee and fight? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, first of all, it is terrifying. The first time I spoke at a meeting, I was shaking with fear. So, let me tell you a story. So, in 2018, I was 13 and just starting to speak up about healthcare and fighting against the Obamacare repeal. Someone told them former Vice President Joe Biden about me, and when he came to Orlando on his book tour, he gave me front row tickets. I got to meet him before the show, and I sat captivated when he spoke about losing his son Bo to cancer. The whole theater was silent, except for me. I started laughing, loudly, uncontrollably. Because when I get overwhelmed, excited or anxious, my body betrays me in ways I can't control. That's just part of my disability. And in that moment, I wanted to disappear. I literally felt like I ruined the whole thing. But years later I found out Biden asked about me and he remembered me fondly. So that moment taught me 3 things. 1. Never, ever take me to a funeral. Don't do it. 2. Most people are more understanding than we think. And 3. Stop letting fear of judgment keep you from demanding what you need. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to show up and tell your story authentically.
You recently went to a Corey Mills town hall and you got to meet Gavin Newsom. I'm curious how you were treated at the town hall versus meeting Gavin Newsom. I read your op-ed, and I'm sure everyone here who's watching this has. But what's the difference between the two?
How long do we have?
Well, I mostly want to find out how you feel after leaving both of those meetings, especially since it sounds like Corey Mills used that as an opportunity to be rude to his guests at his town hall. And Gavin Newsom seems to be in a situation where he might be a presidential frontrunner, potentially.
Okay, let's dive into my experiences with both men. The similarities are, they're both men. That's it. With Congressman Corey Mills, A.K.A. the congressman with his multiple lady, let's call them friends. He didn't allow an open mic town hall. People had to write their questions down and his staff chose the questions ahead of time. He already sounds like he's doing the people's work, but it gets so much better. A woman got up and spoke up about ICE killing 2 American citizens. Now, you would think that a normal person would say, oh, That's so horrific. Here's what I'm doing to protect that from happening again, but not my hero of a congressman. His response was, ice, ice, baby. Just a classic guy, right? He, then, proceeded to challenge a veteran to a boxing match, which is just everyday practice at these town halls. And when my question was asked about how the $1 trillion cut from the one big bullshit bill would affect people with disabilities and whether people with disabilities will have their services cut, Corey pivoted to Medicaid fraud and undocumented immigrants getting Medicaid in California, or something like that. Contrast that with Governor Gavin Newsom. He didn't challenge anyone to a boxing match, which he deserves a lot of credit for doing. I know that's tough. And when I got my picture taken, he and his wife, Jennifer, stood there and waited for me to type everything out. They are two of the nicest people I've ever met.
I'm sorry that you had that experience with Corey Mills, but I'm glad that you're getting VIP treatment with some of these other candidates that, you know, it's just basic human rights, you know, basic human dignity to sit there and want to meet you and hear you out and listen versus someone who obviously doesn't know how to carry themselves professionally.
Basic decency.
Basic decency. It doesn't sound like Corey Mills knows what that is, but, you know, in closing, I want to leave people with a bit of inspiration. So I always ask every person who comes on the podcast, what is one thing that you do since you're out being an activist and an advocate all the time for rights for those with disabilities? How do you replenish yourself? What is your hobby outside of milkshakes? What do you like to do? Maybe what shows, what movies you like to watch, what books you like to read. What is something you do for you that helps you replenish so you can get up and fight tomorrow?
I go to musicals. They are so joyful and provide the community with an escape from all of the chaos on our TV screens. So, whether it's traveling to Oz, somewhere over the rainbow, or traveling back to high school to see Mean Girls, you'll catch me in a theater near you.
Well, I'm so excited to see you in the theater, JJ. Do you have any closing remarks for those who are following you or want to get to know more about you? Any plugs that you have as we say goodbye to folks that are watching? Or words of inspiration?
Does this have to be PG?
Not at all.
I better not say it. I don't want to get in trouble. But thank you so much for having me on, Lee. It has been an honor. See, I can restrain myself, unlike the President of the United States.
Well, I'm so grateful for you to be here and to, you know, show people that they don't have to be afraid to get involved in politics. And I hope that if people that are watching who are really afraid of how divisive our political world is, that they can look to you and hear your story and know that they can overcome it because you're leading the way. So thank you so much, JJ.
Amen. Thank you so much again. Cut.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you heard today, please comment, subscribe, and share. And visit organizingtovictory.com so that you can learn more about all the ways that we're going to be organizing this year. It is the most important election year of our lives. I know you hear that all the time, but we here at Organizing to Victory hope to not just talk about the issues, but to organize around the issues. So please share, subscribe, and follow us. and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.